Welcome to module 4. First part A. In this part we will discuss about supply chain network optimization models. Actually this is the continuation of the second part of the third module. In second part of the third module we discussed about some of the models, network design models, wherein we also discussed about the distribution models, location models, where to exactly locate the facility. All those things we have already discussed. Okay, and it is continuation of the same. In this module we will discuss in the same thing in a different perspective, like cost minimization and profit maximization. In the previous module we discussed about the cost minimization models. In this module we will continue that with profit maximization model. How to solve the same problem using profit maximization model. That's what we are going to discuss in this module. I would like to thank all those who have helped me in making this PPT, and I have taken lots of resources from internet, notes and other videos. Network design optimization. Among several elements of supply chain decisions, we have already discussed that network design plays a very crucial role and has a significant implication on the supply chain performance. The performance of the supply chain is entirely dependent on how well the network is designed. If the design of the network is not properly done, if it is not conducive to the current situation, then the success of the supply chain performance is questionable. That's why network design is very crucial for the success of the supply chain. Most global firms work with multiple plants and operate in multiple markets, and this is the reality nowadays. I have been telling you that it's a global village. One company cannot expect to have its multiple plants in the same country, and if they continue to run under such propositions, what happens is that they may not reap the benefits of going out of that particular country. So that's why irrespective of the country, they keep on moving out of their countries. Asian countries set up the plants in Europe, Africa, America, South America, Australia, and similarly the companies of Europe and other countries come to Asian countries because of many benefits. Some of the advantages are there at the Western world, some of the advantages are at the Eastern world, and this is the mutual cooperation between Western world and the Eastern world. So that's why it is a global village. And recent studies on pharmaceutical companies have indicated that there are nearly 16 top pharma companies spread across around 9 countries in the world, and all of them are interdependent on each other. So you just can't say that without the support from the other company or other country, I will run the show. It's not at all possible. And recently we have observed that the raw material supply for COVID vaccine, see, we are dependent on many countries like China and America, while many other countries are dependent on India for vaccine. Many countries like say Philippines, Malaysia, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and smaller countries in Africa and the Caribbean islands, they were all dependent on us. They had thanked us when we were supplying them, but unfortunately we are in such a position that we need more than what is being produced, and that's why it has been halted. But it won't halt permanently. After we satisfy our needs, we will start supplying to them. So whenever need arises, we will take it from them. This is what happens. This is how the things should run. Okay. The most important tactical issues that firms have to resolve include the allocation of the volumes to plants and allocation of plants to markets. This is another important aspect that each and every firm need to look into. They have to see what is the capacity of each plant, and each plant should cater to how many market. So these are the two aspects that every plant in every country, every location should think of. It's not just the capacity but also the market that it need to take care of. Supply chain is essentially a network consisting of nodes and linkages. Of course, this we have already seen. It's a network consisting of so many nodes. That means they are the strategic points, and linkages, that means they are the communication lines. Nodes represent the conversion or the storage point, or what I said as the strategic points or the demand points, and the linkages represents the transportation of activities, either the information transportation or the physical transportation, could be anything, right? So these are the entire supply chain is the network of these nodes and linkages. Unlike other decisions, a network design decision is strategic. It's not short term, it's a long term in nature. And whenever I am taking a network design decision, I am not designing it keeping 6 months in view or 1 year in view. It would be wrong if I design like that. I have to have a very long perspective, and for that I have to design the network. And of course that design should be agile, or it should be flexible. I cannot have a very rigid network. It should be agile or flexible. As the situation changes, the global environment is something like that, it keeps on changing. Who had anticipated COVID-19 virus 1 year ago? Nobody. But it has come, but we need to cope up with it. So that's why the network design should also be easily adjustable to the global environment. For example, Tata plant at Singur was started during 2004-5. It was planned to start. They had set up a very large factory investing more than 1000 crores of rupees. But unfortunately, the political situation there, it went to that level that people started opposing the plant, and Tata had to shift it from Singur to Anand in Gujarat, and they started production here at Anand. Tata Nano could not click, but later Tata came up with many other models of like Tigor or Nexon or something like that, and they are on a very high now. And people at Singur now, they are repenting. They are neither able to grow the agricultural products because that land has become barren now, because they are not able to, they did not use it for a long time. It has become unusable now, and no factory could be set up also. So that's why the life of the people at Singur has become very difficult there. So that's why whenever we take such decisions, it's a long term decision. It's not a short term. In 6 months, they did not, Tata had no idea that within another 6 months they will shift from Singur to Anand. They did not know. So that's why whenever you take such network design decisions, you have to have a very long perspective. Network operations optimization. Now we will discuss two models while optimization of the operations. Operations in the sense they are very short term. When I am going to produce that, how I am going to take care of the entire production within next 6 months, like that. So that is operations. First we will discuss about cost minimization model. I have been telling you that managers will always think of two situations. One, either cost minimization, two, profit maximization. Out of these two, first we shall discuss about cost minimization model. I was talking about the tactical decision. Tactical in the sense short term. So operations means where exactly the production takes place. In my previous lectures or previous module, we have discussed about the location of the facility and the capacity allocation of the facility. That is done now. Now I have to start producing. Okay, for that I will be using this model, and it is almost similar to that of the previous model. When we go further, you will understand that. While taking a decision on operations planning, the firm not only has to ensure establishing appropriate links between various entities in the chain, but also has to consider many other related issues. See, first thing that what it has to do, it has to establish a very firm link between various entities of the chain. What are the various entities of the chain? It starts with the supplier, then the manufacturer, then the distributor, then the retailer, and finally the customer. So these are the general 5 major entities of the chain, and the firm has to see that or ensure that there is a firm link between all these 5 entities. In addition to that, it also need to take care of many other related issues. First of all, the costs. There are 3 types of costs. First one is fixed facility cost, second one is variable production cost, and the third one is transportation cost. These are the 3 important costs that will come into picture when you want to think about the operations related decisions. See, fixed facility cost. What is fixed facility cost? That is the total amount that we have invested on setting up of a facility. That includes land and building and machinery. Okay, these are the 2 dominant parameters of fixed costs. Variable production costs, they are not one time in nature like a fixed facility cost. Fixed facility cost is one time in nature. We are going to construct a building one time, procure equipments one time. Of course, expansions could be there, but it happens at a very later stage. It won't happen every month or every year. It happens in a decade or in 2 decades or in 5 decades, like that. So whereas variable production cost, it's recurring in nature, and what is that we are going to spend on such things like, see, labor cost. We have to pay salary to them, wages to them, labor cost, raw material cost. We need to procure raw material every month. As and when the production increases, raw material consumption increases. So I have to procure more and more raw material. And next comes the electricity bills, the maintenance costs, so tooling and other things. All these things, whatever the consumable items are there, they all come under variable costs. Okay, so this is the second aspect. Third aspect is the transportation. After I manufacture, I need to transport it. Where do I transport? I need to transport it to the market. So that cost or should also be borne by the manufacturer. So these are the 3 important types of cost when I am going to discuss about the operations related decisions. And as a manager, my aim is to keep these costs minimum. So I have to keep the fixed cost minimum, variable cost minimum, and transportation cost minimum. And if I cannot compromise with the fixed cost, okay, let me at least try to keep the variable cost minimum. If I cannot compromise with the variable cost, okay, let me at least keep the fixed cost minimum. Or if I cannot do any of these things with any, if I cannot minimize either the fixed cost or the variable cost, let me at least minimize the transportation cost. This is the thinking of manager. 1 rupee saved is 1 rupee profit extra. That should be the thinking of the manager. So facility costs are fixed in nature, as I've already explained. So for tactical decisions like network operations, fixed facility costs will be incurred irrespective of the allocation decisions, and hence are not relevant for the decision making. Why we are not considering the fixed cost? See, normally it won't change. Let me give a simple example. Whether you construct a building either in tier 2 cities or tier 1 cities, normally the cost won't vary too much. Okay, because the building cost will almost be same. The cement, the steel, and all those things, the sand, almost they're all one and the same. They won't change too much. Labor cost, yes, it may vary from city to city. Okay, some to some extent it will vary. The tiles, the flooring, the electricity, the plumbing work, they're all almost same. The material cost won't change. Okay, and that's why normally land and building and equipment, whether you set up the factory in tier 1 cities or tier 2 cities, the equipment cost won't change. If you procure it from normally from a distant place, see, like mechanical hubs, or either in Faridabad or in Rajkot or in Gurgaon, Noida, like that. Okay, the Pune, there are the mechanical hubs. If you want to set up any factory, you need to look at those cities, and wherever you set up the facility, the equipment cost will remain the same. That's why fixed cost, whatever I am incurring on facilities, it will remain almost the same irrespective of where I am going to set up. That's why I am ignoring that. So now I have to minimize the variable cost and the transportation cost. These are the two aspects. Even transportation cost also cannot be varied or cannot be minimized to a greater extent, because the fuel cost will not vary too much from one place to another place. First thing. Second thing, even the trucks, whatever I use, I have to pay the same amount whether I need to transport it from tier 1 cities to a rural place, or from rural cities to rural places to tier 2 cities. It doesn't make any difference. So which is the only aspect where I can go for minimization? That is variable production cost. Out of these three, this is the only thing that where I can play a really crucial role as a manager and minimize the total variable cost. That should be my aim. The demand allocation problem can be modeled as a linear programming problem, and it can be solved using standard linear programming packages. It's a heuristic process. That means it's an iterative process. And let m be the number of plants, n be the number of markets, where number of plants indicates I is equal to 1 to m, number of markets indicates j 1 to n, demand j indicates quarterly demand at market j, capacity I indicates, or ci indicates quarterly production capacity at plant I, cost ij or Cij indicates the cost of producing and transporting 1 unit from plant I to market J. And F cost is the fixed cost, or Fi, that is the fixed cost of facility I. And this is my objective function. Okay, that is I have to minimize this. What is the total cost? What is the total cost? Total cost is the fixed cost plus the variable cost and into quantity. Here I am not considering fixed cost. See here, there is no consideration of the fixed cost here. Why? I have already explained. Fixed cost remains the same irrespective of the city. In order to start a building, construct a building, in order to procure the equipment cost, the building cost will remain almost the same, and that's why I am not considering that while minimizing the cost. So my main aim is to minimize the variable cost, that is Cij or cost Ij, into quantity produced. So why quantity produced becomes important here? More the quantity I produce, more will be the variable cost. Let me explain it with an example. See, for example, if you are manufacturing 50 units per month, raw material required will be in proportional to 50 units. Okay, even the labor cost will be in proportion to those 50 units. If I increase the production level from 50 units per month or per quarter to say 100 units per quarter, then what will happen? More raw material is required, more labors are required, maintenance cost would be high, electricity charges would be high, maintenance cost would be high, indirect labor would be high. So as a result, what happens? All these things contribute to the increase of the variable cost. Fixed cost will remain the same, but they keep on changing as and when the production quantity increases. That is why the cost of variable is dependent on two factors. One is the producing and transporting cost Cij multiplied by the quantity produced Qij. Okay, why Ij here? I from plant I need to transport it to market J, and that's why Cij. And there could be multiple markets and multiple plants, and I have to make an iteration of, if I transport it from first plant to first market, first plant to second market. So for example, if it is C11, that is the total cost incurred if I produce and transport it from plant 1 to market 1. C12 means plant 1 to market 2. Similarly, Q12 means quantity of producing from transporting from plant 1 to market 2, like that. So that's why cost and quantity become very, very important. There are certain constraints. First constraint is quantity should be equal to the demand. Quantity produced and supplied should be equal to the demand. If you produce less, you will be incurring loss. If you supply more, then it's not necessary, unnecessarily they will be keeping it with them, or they may reject. So that's why quantities produced and supplied should be equal to demand. Second one, quantity whatever I have supplied, or that should be less than or equal to capacity. That's quite obvious, no? How can I supply a quantity more than the capacity of the plant? If the capacity of the plant itself is 100 units per quarter, then quantity supplied should also be less than or equal to 100. It can be lesser, because if the demand is not there, then I may not supply that much. But I can supply whatever I have produced, that is capacity. So whatever I have supplied should be equal to, or it can be less than the capacity of the plant. And quantity should always be more than 0. It cannot be less than 0. It should be more than or equal to 0. It can be 0, but it cannot be less. I cannot have a negative quantity. This is the third constraint. Okay. Now let us go to a numerical example. See, this is the data. I have 5 plants at Ahmedabad, Baddi, Hubli, Nagpur and Visakhapatnam, and this is the capacity. This indicates 350 units per quarter, and this is the fixed facility cost. If I set up a plant at Ahmedabad, it costs me 78,000, Baddi 42,000, Hubli 36,000, Nagpur 38,000, Visakhapatnam 34,000. Ahmedabad is a tier 1 city and top cities, that's why it costs a little bit more. But look at that, all other cities almost the same. And unit variable production cost, variable, see here variable cost is varying, and Baddi it is very, very less, Ahmedabad and Visakhapatnam it is the highest. And even though, see, for Visakhapatnam it is 400 units, it costs 675 per unit. Whereas here it is, even though I am producing only 350, it costs me 675 per unit. So that is what, that could be due to more higher labor cost, or that could be due to higher electricity charges that I may have to pay, or it could be due to taxes that I may have to pay higher at Ahmedabad. It could be any of those reasons. Okay. Here in Hubli, even though I am producing only 450, I am producing more numbers. See, 450 I am producing, but still the variable cost is lesser, 650, because Hubli is tier 3 city, like that. And this table gives me the data about the demand, quarterly demand from each of those markets. See, these are all the plants. Ahmedabad, Baddi, Hubli, Nagpur, Visakhapatnam, they are the plants where the production takes place. Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, Lucknow and Kolkata are the markets where the demand is seen. How much Bangalore requires 165 per 3 months, Chennai 135, 280, 200 like that. And what will be the price per unit? Whatever I am producing at Bangalore, I am supplying that at a price of 1030 rupees, 950 if it is produced at Chennai, 1000 if it is produced at Delhi, 975 if it is produced at Mumbai, like that. Okay. Next table gives me the transportation cost. If I have to transport between Ahmedabad to Bangalore, I have to incur 235 rupees per unit, 275, 100 like that. Okay. So this matrix gives me the transportation cost from these plants to these markets. Okay. Let us substitute that in Excel solver. See here, all the plants have been listed here, all the markets have been listed on this line, and whatever the data I had, everything has been entered here. The demand has been entered here, and the supply or the capacity of each plant has been entered here. Fixed cost has also been supplied. Fixed cost as of now I am not using because cost minimization, I am not considering fixed cost. While fixed cost becomes very important whenever I am calculating the total profit. Okay, and this is the cost matrix. This is the matrix that includes the distribution of plants to markets. Initially I will keep them at 0, and the formula that I need to use at each of these locations, and this is the objective function, everything will be entered in this way. See, sum product objective function, it is the sum product of cost into quantity. So this matrix, see, B3 to G7, B3 to G7 indicates the cost matrix, this portion multiplied by the quantity of allocation. So this is where the allocation takes place. So that is B11 to G15. So whatever the allocation takes place, that will be multiplied by that corresponding cell. See, for example, allocation takes place in this cell, that is Baddi to Bangalore, Baddi to Bangalore 1036. Now whatever the allocation takes place in this cell gets multiplied by 1036 in this cell, and that is obtained using this formula, sum product multiplied by, this is the first array, this is the second array, and it's in B90, this particular cell. Next, B16. What is B16? That is the demand met. What is the demand met? That should be in line with the B11 to B15. See, where is B11? Whatever the demand met, that is the summation of all these things. See, Bangalore may meet its demand partly from Ahmedabad, partly from Baddi, partly from Hubli, partly from Nagpur, or the entire requirement of Bangalore can be met by Hubli, or Hubli and Nagpur, like that. So that's why it is the summation of the total allocation in this column. Okay, column B, that is it is B11 to B15. Next is the supply constraint. What is that supply constraint? B11 to G11, sum of B11 to G11 supply here. See, I am supplying, if Ahmedabad is the plant, Ahmedabad has to may supply a little some portion to Bangalore, some to Chennai, some to Delhi, some to Mumbai, or it may supply entire whatever it has produced to Mumbai only. What is the capacity? Capacity of Ahmedabad is say 350 here. Okay, and all the 350 can be supplied to say Mumbai, or 100 to Delhi and 250 to Mumbai. I do not know. After solving the problem, I will come to know about that. However, the total supply constraint should be summation of all these things, okay, the entire row. So the row summation is the supply constraint, column summation is the demand constraint, and the objective function is the multiplication of this matrix into this matrix. Now we shall click on solver, go to data, click on solver. When you click on data and click on solver, this window will pop up. Here select the minimum and ensure that the target cell is B19, because that is where you are setting up the objective function. And then changing cells 11 to 15, these are the changing cells, in that is where the allocation takes place. And enter these constraints. First constraint is B11 to G15, that should be greater than or equal to 0. This is the allocation matrix. So allocation cannot be less than 0. Allocation has to be either 0 or more than that. So that is the first constraint. Second constraint, B16 to G16, that is with respect to the demand. Okay, so whatever the demand I am meeting, demand met, B16 to G16 indicates the demand met. See here, B16 to G16 indicates the demand met. This demand met should be equal to whatever B8 to G8, where is B8 to G8? Here it is. Okay, whatever I am demanding, that much is being met. So I am demanding 165 from Bangalore, and Bangalore should have 165. Here I have put the constraint, it should be equal to, it should be greater than or equal to, no. If it is greater, then how can the capacity matrix be taken care? It cannot take care, no. And that's why the constraint should be equal to whatever the demand. So demand met should be equal to demand done. That is the second constraint. And the third constraint is with respect to H11 to H15. That is the supply. This is the supply constraint. How much should be supplied? Supply should be less than or equal to capacity. In my previous slide also I explained you, I cannot supply more than my capacity. Right? Demand could be there, but I do not know that. But that's why I have made a constraint that demand should be equal to demand met. Demand made should be equal to demand met. Why? The supply should always be less than or equal to capacity. I am not supposed, I cannot supply more than what I can produce. That is meaningless. So that's why it should be less than or equal to capacity. With all these things, data I entered, and keep all these values in the second matrix as 0, with this row and this column with the appropriate formula, and copy it to remaining cells, and the middle portion set it at 0. And now come to solver and click on solve. Solve button is here. Click on solve. Once you click on solve, you will get the answer. The answer is this one. Once you click on the answer, 773,770, 7,70,770 rupees. That is the total minimum variable cost. When does that happen? When plant at Hubli meets the demand at Bangalore, 165, everything is met. And plant at Baddi meets 280 of Delhi. Plant at Vishakhapatnam meets the requirement of Chennai, everything. And then plant at Ahmedabad meets the requirement at Mumbai. And plant at Nagpur, see, plant at Nagpur or the demand at Lucknow is met by 120 from Baddi. See here, 120 from Baddi, because the total capacity itself is 400. Remaining 5 from Nagpur. Remaining 5 from Nagpur. Total 125 is met. And finally, Kolkata's demand of 155 is met by NAPR. So all of them are comply to their capacity, and all the entered demand is also met. All the constraints have been taken place, and the total minimum variable cost is 7,73,770 rupees. That is indicated here. And what is the profit? So this is the resultant conclusion, and finally what we can observe is that this is the total revenue. How we obtain this total revenue? You can see that this is the total allocation multiplied by the price per unit for that particular market. If it is at Bangalore, 1030 is the price. This we have obtained from the second table in the data. So like that, when I calculate, I get this much value, 10,17,450 rupees. This is the total variable cost that I have obtained using the solver, and the gross profit is total revenue minus the total variable cost. That comes out to be 243,680, and the net profit is the gross profit minus fixed cost. Fixed cost is 228,000. Since all plants are being set up, I have to add the fixed cost of each and every plant. There are 5 plants. I have to add all of them, and I get 2,28,000. And gross profit is 243,680, and subtracting fixed cost from gross profit, I get 15,680 rupees. Now we will discuss the same problem with profit maximization case. Okay. So cost minimization, if I choose profit maximization model, what will happen? Will the allocation be different? Will the profit be different? All those things we will check now. As fixed costs are not relevant, again I am not considering those fixed costs. I am sticking on to only total variable cost. The objective function is different now. In my earlier case, the objective function was to minimize the cost. That's why only I had considered this portion, if you remember it. But here I am considering price into quantity as well. That is the total revenue. Total revenue minus total cost. And I have to maximize that. So while selecting, I have to click on maximize now, not minimize. And quantity supplied should always be less than or equal to demand. Quantity supplied should always be less than or equal to capacity produced, and quantity should always be more than 0. It cannot be negative. These are the 3 constraints. Okay, now we have got the model, profit maximization model, wherein I need to take care of both the price as well as the cost. So price has been entered over here. You can observe that 1030 if it is at Bangalore, and Chennai 950, Delhi 1000. Like that I have entered the price here, and this is the capacity, this is the fixed cost. Fixed cost I will consider this only when I calculate the profit. Okay, and this is the cost matrix that I have entered, and to start with I will keep everything 0 here. Let me put everything 0. Okay, once I keep everything 0, and then I will click on data. Once I click on data, I will open this solver, and I will click on the solver. When I click on solver, I get this table, this window pops up. Here objective function is at B21. Click on that, and by changing the variable cells 11 to 15, enter that. Okay, and then subject to constraint. If you want to add any constraint, you can add it like this. See, if you want to edit that, you can edit it like this. It comes like this. It is greater than or equal to 0. If you want to change it, the condition, you can change that. Here it is greater than or equal to 0, and I don't want to change anything, cancel it. Okay, so because the quantity cannot be less than 0, it has to be greater than or equal to 0. If you want to add any more of the constraints, you can click on add. This window pops up and you can add any more constraints. Okay, once everything is done, click on GRG nonlinear, and here, without forgetting, click on maximization case. Till now we have been clicking on minimization case. Here you have to click on maximization case and then say solve. Once you solve that, this window pops up, and say OK, and see here I have got the net gross profit as 245,230. How this gross profit has been obtained, you can see the formula here. See some product of B19 to G19 and B16 to G16. What is B19 to G19? B19 to G19 is the price multiplied by B16 to G16, the allocation. See what is the demand met. See here, these are the Bengalore's demand has been met, Kolkata's met, Delhi, Mumbai, Lucknow, everything, see Chennai, sorry, everything has been met, whereas Kolkata there is no allocation at all. See here, Kolkata there is no allocation at all, and that's why this is the difference. And when I am planning for profit maximization, it is advisable that I should not set up any market in Kolkata. That is the advice according to this model. And Nagpur has only one. For 5 parts I have to set up a plant at Nagpur. Now I have to see is it really feasible. Instead of going with 5, can I not expand it Baddi, so that Baddi instead of 400, if I make it as say 410 or 450, then Nagpur's plant can be eliminated. This gives me a picture now, so that I can take any further decision. And the net profit is obtained. What is the formula? B21 minus J8. B21 is the gross profit minus J8. What is the J8? That is the total fixed cost. So this comes out to be net profit. What was the profit in the last problem when I last type of model, cost minimization model? It was 15,000 something. Now it is 17,230. This is the difference between cost minimization and profit maximization models. So this table gives the results and conclusion, and here we can see that no allocation at Kolkata, and finally revenue, since the market of Kolkata does not exist, the total revenue is this much, and variable cost is this much, and finally gross profit, revenue minus variable cost, and net profit, whatever the answer we obtained using Excel solver. Okay, total revenue is how much I obtained by selling the product. So till now we discussed two cases, cost minimization and profit maximization, and we could observe that the answers do vary. When I consider the cost minimization case, the allocations are different. Profit maximization, the allocations are different. While I used the profit maximization case, I did not go for the market at Kolkata, and the total profit was also more when compared to cost minimization case. So as a manager, I can choose any of these two depending on the situation and the constraints. Thank you.